Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. You're listening to WVON 1690 AM. This is the Talk of Chicago. Every Tuesday night, we bring you straight words with Brother Nabar Richard Muhammad, the editor-in-chief of the Final Call newspaper, former editor-in-chief on the line as well. He's in the studio tonight, Brother James G. Muhammad, and, of course, yours truly, Brother B.J. Murphy. We are here from 9 p.m. to midnight Central Time. Everybody listening around the country, thank you so much for checking us out. We are glad that you are here. And the brothers are assembled together. Assalamu alaikum. How you doing, Brother Naba?
Wa alaikum salam, Brother BJ. How you doing? Brother James, how you doing?
Wa alaikum salam. I'm doing wonderful, my brother. It's good to hear y'all's voice.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
You feeling good, Brother Naba?
Brother, I'm really feeling great. I'm still on the mend, but feeling great, and just to have the opportunity to speak and to bear witness and to look to awaken and enliven our people. Earlier today we had the announcement that the cops who beat Tyre Nichols to death are going to face federal charges related to his death and related to civil rights violations and some other offenses that they're charged with. And this is, again, I would say, brother, it's another test. It's really, in my view, it's another test for this country. Because so often we have seen, and the video of Tyre Nichols, who was beaten to death by 5 black officers in January of this year. They beat this man unmercifully. 5 black officers for no reason. For no reason. They beat him. I mean, viciously beat him, and it's captured much of it on body cam. Then they conspired to hide the truth. They lied when it came to reports. They decided collectively that they were going to hide evidence by not recording certain elements on their body cams. Now, these are black officers beating a black man to death, 29 years old, for literally no reason. So now we have the Justice Department coming in and saying that they are going to, coming in and charging these officers with federal civil rights violations, conspiracy, obstruction of justice, and offenses that resulted in Tyre Nichols' death. So brothers and sisters, look, it's sad to say, but we have to tell you sometimes bitter truths. We are glad to see the federal Justice Department taking action, and these officers or former officers, because they were fired, are also being charged at the state level, right, in Memphis. But these federal charges are just that. They're charges. It's not a conviction. And we just saw a similar case down in Louisiana where a brother was beaten, ribs broken, I think jaw fractured by a Louisiana state trooper. There was a federal trial, and the trooper was not convicted. But I'm glad to see the charges. I don't want to hear nothing about what they charging these officers, but they black, but they didn't charge the white ones. I ain't trying to hear none of that.
Right.
Because as far as I'm concerned, these black officers, if anything, should face even more penalties. Because you had great officers like Renault Robinson, who recently passed here in Chicago, black officer. You had people like my aunt, Tina Russell, who was a officer in the Baltimore City Police Department. You had people like Ron Hampton, the National Black Police Association. We have people like Howard Saffold, people like Pat Hill, the late Pat Hill, the African American Patrolmen's League in Chicago. And all of these people fought for justice for our people. They fought to keep the departments clean. They fought to try to make the departments more responsive to our people, man. They didn't say, I got a job to do, and they certainly didn't mimic the activity of their white counterparts. Lastly, in the old Muhammad Speaks newspaper, there was a cartoon that showed a white officer basically saying to a black officer, a white officer saying to a black civilian. This is in a cartoon in Muhammad Speaks. I would blow your brains out, but my partner has me covered. And the cartoon showed a black officer holding a gun on the white cop. And it's just so sad today, that we have lost or we have surrendered, where we don't stand for what's right.
Right.
But I'm glad to see that at least these charges were filed today. But keep your eyes open, because the filing of charges is not a conviction. It's just the beginning of the process.
And as you mentioned, Brother Naba, another sad fact is the absence of those voices of the black patrolmen.
Yes.
Because, they're in a system, as we look at this case with the 5 black men, as horrific as it sounds, and as unbelievable as it was when we first heard about it and then saw that these were black officers, there is no counter narrative coming from black police officers. When you had the Black Afro-American Patrolman League, at least you had black voices out there speaking from a perspective of black officers and countering and holding accountable to the extent that they could those officers who were rogue. And there were a lot of them in Chicago, which probably caused for the Afro-American League, Patrolman League, to be formed. But right now, I don't know. You certainly don't have another narrative coming out from a black police perspective in Chicago, or and I imagine in these other cities that can put their voice out, calling for corrective actions within the department, calling for even for black officers to act right, and to know that they have a resource other than the FOPs, which are just Klan in blue uniforms. So those are the things that I think that also are missing in the community when we talk about who patrols our communities and the situation with police in general.
And then the other thing we know, Brother James, we know this, right? We know that people like Renault Robinson and Howard Saffold did not have an easy time with the department. They weren't seen as heroes inside of the department, but they were seen as heroes in their community. But now many of these black police organizations don't even exist. I don't even think the Afro-American Patrolmen's League, with all that it did, is even in existence today. Why? Because, of course, the white officers and the police department and the brass, they're going to tell the young officers, don't get involved with them, that's going to be trouble, right? Which they always tell us. You can be on your job standing up for something that's right. They'll tell you, well, don't do that. That's going to be bad for your career. And it's sad that after all of the sacrifice, the protests of the little brothers and sisters out on the street, the hope that so many of our people had years ago, and to see that they beat this brother in Memphis. They not only beat him, but they beat this man to death.
Yeah, brother.
Then go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to let you continue, but I have a admiral that's been holding for a minute. We want to bring him, First Admiral.
Sure.
Khaled. I may be mispronouncing his name, but he can help me out. How you doing? Assalamu alaikum, brother. Admiral, is it Khalid? First Admiral? Are you there? Caller, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay.
Can you hear me, sir?
I can hear you now. How do you pronounce your name?
Khalid.
Khalid.
Yes,
okay, First Admiral Khalid.
Yes,
You're on with Brother Naba Richard Muhammad, who is on the line, and B.J. Murphy, and my name is James. How you doing, and what's your comment, sir?
I was calling in just to give a well wish to the 70th anniversary of our beloved Second African Sergeant, Most Honorable Minister Lucy Elijah Muhammad Farrakhan Muhammad Ali, and Honorable Mother Khadija Farrakhan's 70th anniversary.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Well, we thank you for that. We'll be talking about that in a little bit. So you're in, and we thank you for it. But you kind of got in early on it. But we definitely going to bring that up. Is there any other comment you want to make, First Admiral?
Not personally, no, sir. No. But I'm calling from Japan, and I can, I really wanted to say something on behalf, so I can call back. I'll listen to the show and just call back.
Brother.
Again.
You can say what you want to say. Now, are you this a Navy, right? Is that?
Yeah, we are in the process of starting our first Naval Academy under the leadership of the Nation of Islam under the 10,000 Fearless.
All praises due to
Allah.
Yes,
sir.
Go ahead.
Anybody, Brother Naba or BJ, any questions for my brother before he hangs up? He's in Japan.
No, Brother Khalid is one of the soldiers who was out of Atlanta.
Okay.
With Brother Abdul Sharif Muhammad.
Okay.
So he's a experienced sailor, seaman, rather. I'm not sure which term is correct, but very experienced and has been teaching others. So, Brother College, man, thank you for coming in, and we're going to get to our love and wishes for the minister, Mother Khadija, in a few minutes. But thanks for calling in, man. I appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, my brother. Yes, sir.
I wanted to read something from Benjamin Crump.
Okay.
He made a statement today, and he said, I quote, "If anything," and we're talking about Tyre Nichols, y'all, if you're just tuning in on WVON, about the 5 police officers who were indicted today on federal charges. Benjamin Crump said, if anything, we are hopeful that today sent a chilling effect on police officers across America, that not only are you going to be under review by the state, but Merrick and Garland and the Biden administration have sent a warning and set a precedent that the federal government is going to defend the civil rights for all American citizens against anybody, whether they're wearing a badge or not.
Yeah,
brother. Person that popped up, the first person that popped up in my mind was Darren Wilson, because he's walking around free.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, this is not precedent setting, brother, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's something basic that should have happened.
Yeah.
It's something basic, man. This is not part of some announcement by the Justice Department that we're not going to tolerate brutality against black people. They didn't make that kind of announcement. They didn't make an announcement we're not going to tolerate civil rights abuses. We're going to vigorously seek, look out, and prosecute any officer if we suspect of doing these things. They didn't say that.
Right.
It's rarely that anybody's charged at the federal level, let alone convicted. So let's not get beyond ourselves with these pronouncements. I'm just sorry. I just don't see that as being true. And I hope it's not part of this Biden election thing. Because as far as I'm concerned, the Biden administration should have been taking a strong position on this. But what happened under him? We didn't get federal law enforcement reform under him. Remember that. So don't let one case, one indictment, get you to think that now we're in the promised land. No, we're still in hell.
That's right.
And this man, Joe Biden, let people like Joe Manchin of West Virginia and Kristen Sinema of Arizona dominate the political process and block stuff like federal police reform. So, no, ain't no precedent. Give me a conviction.
And then that would... Okay, we have another caller. Let's bring Cliff into the conversation. How you doing, Cliff?
Assalamu alaikum, brother. Thank you for taking my call. Listen, I want to bring up a subject. I'm kind of embarrassed and sad to say that 3 of those members, 3 out of the 5, were a part of Omega Psi Phi fraternity. You know, and it's kind of real disappointing that they would respond like that. You know, to inflict this type of misconduct, brutality towards another brother. But nevertheless, let me say this is that, you know, how would you categorize or classify their actions? So, in other words, listening to the white community, right? They will bring up the issue that this was racism, okay? And some would say this was racism. But in my mind, without a doubt, that they're going to show the face of police brutality and the face of bad policing and misconduct will always be these black police officers. So even though the white ones are more notorious for doing this in the black community, but in terms of white America, they're good police officers. You know, it's always the black ones, you know, that don't comply with police and all that. But listening to white people, they are now putting the face of these black police officers are the ones, they're the example of bad policing, which is totally unjust. So my question to you and to you brothers is that, are these brothers a part of a racist system? Are they racist? What would be the motivation of their actions towards another? They would damn sure wouldn't do that to another white boy, without a doubt. You know, it's just my opinion. You know, but they would afflict this misconduct and this brutality towards another black. How would you classify that?
Well, I would say, first of all, Cliff, white folks are not making them the face of black policing, of bad policing. They are, because they killed a black man. Ain't no getting around that. None. You slaughtered your brother in the goddamn street like an animal. And now, don't be surprised that your slave master ain't coming to your rescue. The Holy Quran says that the devil promises only to deceive. And we're not talking about no man in no damn red suit. We're talking about evil black people. So now they deserve to be the face of it because they killed a man in the street for no reason. What did they do? It was self-hatred. And they were mimicking their slave master. And they were traitors to their people. And we've had that since before we got here. And I hope they get every single punishment that they're eligible for. Justice is justice. You don't get no break because you slaughtered your own people to the delight of white people. No, you need to be punished more.
Yeah, I have to definitely agree with Brother Naba as well. Yeah. But I would also throw into this too. It's not like this wasn't part of the enemy's plan as well. He knows exactly how to set up narratives. He knows how to influence public opinion, and he knows that his officers do worse than this, and all of them are deserve to have justice. And Tyre's family needs to have healing and justice. But why would they do that to their brother? It's because of how we've been taught to hate ourselves. When they look at that brother, and from what I understand, there were other personal, I believe, motivations that definitely should not have ended in this kind of brutality, but they had another agenda according to some of the things that were read a while back. But bottom line is, to be a black man, your brother, like that, it's rooted in just more than them having the power to do it. It's rooted into it was almost as if they were on the plantation having one of those fights among the brutes, as the white boy loved to look at us beat each other down. But I want to also mention, with regard to your comment about Omega, being a brother of Omega Psi Phi myself, that was horrible. But, the brothers were kicked out of the fraternity. So as we looked at it, I don't know what other organizations they belong to, or other cops who beat folks that belong to something.
That's
but
right.
I can definitely say that as a member of Omega Psi Phi, that definitely is not what we were taught or how we behave as well. So.
You're right, and you're right, brother. I'm going to just end with this. My last point is that's the reason why I believe that black police officers, and and trust me, prior and except for this, I certainly support black police officers that do the right thing, because not only do they have to confront, dealing with the issues out in the public, but they also have to fight racism within their own departments. So I certainly support good black police officers that have the courage to stand up for what's right. But also, let me say in closing that this is the reason why I say black police officers do not commit the same misconduct or brutality towards white individuals, because simply they know the system is not going to support them. And these brothers felt that maybe they had a goal pass just because it was a black person. And like I said before, they damn sure would not even thought of doing this to a white boy, even if the white boy shot at him or called him a nigger, so excuse my expression, call him the N-word. They would not have responded that aggressively towards white people. And again, these are some of the issues that we're dealing with within our own department, within our own brothers and sisters. And matter of fact, we find the sisters have more courage to fight against misconduct in the black community than the brothers. That's just my opinion. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I hate to listen to your response.
To your point, the system ain't supporting them in this case. And my other question would be, in Chicago, this guy named Cantanera is over the FOP, and he sure enough doesn't like black folks. And so if we're looking at that and what's going on in our streets, where is the voice? I mean, what prevents black officers now from uniting and at least presenting a united front with regard to being police officers, having their own, in these unions, they have caucuses, they have the black caucus, the Latino caucus, all that. What about in the police force? Where is the black voice, the Black Officers Association that can stand up and be another picture of black officers in our community and another voice of black officers in our community? There is a need. So, So, and we have another caller. But go ahead. Any comments?
I said it'd be nice for a police officer. I know they're listening right now to us. 773-591-1690, 773-591-1690. If there's a Chicago police officer or somebody that would like to chime in on that, we'd love to get your take on the Tyre Nichols case. We're talking about that with federal charges being brought against the 5 police officers today. So that's our discussion. So y'all could join the conversation, Brother James.
Yeah, and we got Brother Ronald on. And after Ronald, though, Brother BJ, I'd like to hear a commercial, man, about how folks can keep Brother Naba's show on the air after we hear from Brother Ronald.
All right. Well, I got a commercial for you, because we need some funds to come in for Straight Words. Brothers and sisters, we pay for this show, and it's not free. And we thank WVON for allowing us to have this airtime for 3 hours. You getting some serious black talk on this radio station, and we need your support to keep the wheels turning. So go to your Cash App right now, pull it out, and give us your best donation. $ Straight Words. That's $ Straight Words on Cash App. If you got Zelle, here's the number: 312-480-9775. That's 312-480-9775. And on PayPal, Straight Words, the number 4. Straight Words, the number 4 @gmail.com.
All right. That means the cash register is ringing. Let's bring in Brother Ronald. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Ronald. Yes, sir. How you doing, my brother? What you got for us?
Look. Sooner or later, and I'm so glad that these so-called policemen are going to get prosecuted, and they should give them the max, because one, as a people, we have to learn as others already know. There's no such thing as we're all blue. You black and blue.
Go ahead, man.
You need to know, and they make it clear enough for you to know. It's black and blue. It ain't we all blue. No, sir. You and you know, for us as a people not to understand and have love for self first is a sad commentary. You know,
hey, Brother Ronald. I got a question for you. I know you're a former police officer. Can you address? You were around when they had the Afro Patrolmen's League. Can you just address briefly? You know, what is the hindrance now? If I'm assuming, what's the hindrance from the black officers, or is there a caucus or a patrolman league now, and why don't we hear their voices?
There is not one now. Okay. And the reason you're not hearing voices is, again, no organization and a lack of knowledge. So it's all about, okay, what can I do to enhance my career? Okay. You know, like where the hell are you going?
Go ahead, man.
What? Oh, well, you know, I might get a good grade on the you know, they give the test and you give a verbal exam. You know, the exam is very subtle, but you get to have a verbal aspect of the exam, and maybe if they look and see and know that I'm a good one, you know, they give me
Okay. All right, Bro Ronald, thank you, man. We got a couple more calls we got to get to, and we have our next guest holding to now, but so you can tell us when you want to switch over. But we got Brother Anthony Shaheed on, too, as well. So, Assalamu alaikum, Brother Anthony.
Islam. Allahu Akbar.
Yes,
I always
sir.
good to hear my brother's voice.
Well, wonderful, my brother. How are you?
Brother, I'm thankful to Allah. I want to start with Assalamu alaikum and Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I want to personally thank your station, WVON 1690 Straight Words, for last week, for you, Brother James, for Brother Nava, and Brother BJ Murphy got a chance to come on our radio show in St. Louis. And it was extremely powerful knowing that WVON 1690 Straight Words, Chicago, Illinois, was with, you know, our radio station, which is 1600 from the Bobby Jr. show, and also that was on the AM station for 1309 on the FM station, getting information out. And that's one of the things I think is really powerful, that we're working together like this, because the thing that you're talking about, the police, I know a whole lot about these police. And I just heard Brother Ronald on the phone, you know, talking about it, but they got a fraternal order police, but they got a National Gun Police Association. But these white folks do what the hell they want to do. Here in the city of St. Louis, they got a police department. There's two police departments, because one of them, the blacks, are under what they call the Ethical Society.
Right.
And the white fraternal order. And them white folks do what the hell they want to do, when they want to do it, and how they going to do it. And really don't want nobody to reprimand them. That's why they had a problem with our sister here named Kim Gardner.
Go ahead.
Right.
Pushed her out of office because Kim Gardner had them 25 police. They was writing bad police reports, and when they found it out and could prove it, they wouldn't take none of they whatever they were saying, or anybody who was with them. Say, for instance, ain't a good example. Y'all use y'all too, but Mr. Johnson and Mr. Smith was together. Officer Smith and Mr. Johnson was in the car. Mr. Smith lied. They found out he lied, but Mr. Johnson was in the car too, and still saying, You know, I can't support you. You were wrong. That man didn't have no drugs on him.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't have a gun on him. And to let him write a false police report when you know he was lying was a problem. So Kim Gardner wouldn't accept none of their information.
Mm-hmm.
She wouldn't accept none of it.
She was the prosecutor for the prosecutor for the city of St. Louis. Go ahead, Brother Anthony. I just wanted to make that clear.
Thank you very much. She was not only was she a prosecutor for us, but she was a prosecutor for everybody. But anytime black people, especially brothers in the street, say that she good, that means she was doing her job. And the mere fact she did that, she stood up against the governor here who had a marital affair. And what he did, he wound up, and I'll say it real quick, his wife was in the hospital having a baby. He had this woman up in his house and tied her up and doing all kind of freak stuff, but he took a picture of her. And the mere fact he took a picture of her showing what they were doing, she brought charges, and Sister Kim Gardner wound up making this governor have to step down out of office. The white folks didn't go along with that. The mere fact that she did that with that police department, with damn near 25 and 30 police, they didn't like that. And when she sat and came out and started talking about what they were doing all around the country and brought in 7 other black prosecuting attorneys, all females, that said the president that it was a problem, you know. So we thank Allah for her. You know, we still with her, but we had a mayor in the city named Meredith Charles Jones. Man, them white folks own her because she told them that she needs to step out of that she needs to be able to work with everybody. I don't have no problem working with police. I got a problem working with bad police. And Sister Tashara Jones, who's the mayor of the city of St. Louis, a so-called black woman that's owned by the white establishment, came out against her and had them white folks. As soon as she came out and used her shotgun and started shooting at her, then they came out and just said, we literally want you to get up out of office. They ran out of office. And it's a shame. You know, but it's happening all over the country. It's not just Chicago. Y'all got a corrupt police department up there, too. Exactly. They ain't just, Chicago is known for taking payoff. That's what y'all was known for. It's nothing personal. I'm just keeping it real.
They just cash out.
You know, do they cash out them, too?
Brother Anthony, Shaheed, thank you very much. You keep holding it down. And we got to hear from your daughter again. She spits fire, too. So at some point, we got to hear from her again.
And again, thank y'all for coming on last week, and hopefully another month or so you'll come in my station. I'll come on your station, and Allah bless you. And we love the Honorable Memphis Farrakhan here. And on our station, you're going to hear that one.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's right. Go ahead, brother.
Yes, sir.
Alaikum.
So, Brother Nabo, we got 2 callers, and then we have the next segment. How you want to work this?
Yeah, let's ride this with the 2 callers.
Okay.
Sister Starla, stand by. We're going to bring you in a minute, okay?
All right.
Or we can bring her in and she can comment on this before we get to the next one.
We can bring Starla in, but we're going to hear from Brian, and Starla can just be on as well, Brother Demonte. Brian, how are you, my brother? Assalamu alaikum.
My good brothers. How you doing? Sure, I just came in on the tail end when you were talking about the police department, and I was just thinking that the police suffer from the same thing that our community suffers with, and that's organization. I mean, can you imagine these black police today up in these police departments, what's going on, and them being privy to it? You know, it's just like years ago when I used to wonder how a black South African police could do what he did. So, do you get my point?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
I mean, I was fortunate to see, African police, Renault Robinson here in Chicago, which was something that, I mean, how come that can't exist today? Everybody else has got it. It's because of our organization and the way we go back. White people, white folks didn't whip black folks, back in slavery. Black folks did it.
Yeah, but white folks did some whipping too. Now let's keep it straight.
Oh yeah, white folks. Well, the black folks did it because they did it when they wanted to. But I'm saying they wasn't going to waste their time and energy they got a black person to do it.
All right.
I mean,
right.
If they want it, so he might be making a point, but it takes energy to beat a person. So I'm just saying,
because if he didn't beat him, he'd be the one to get beat.
Pardon?
I say if the brother didn't beat the other brother, he would end up getting beat, if not worse. So yeah, you're right though. You're right.
Right, that's right. If he didn't beat something, then he gonna get beat. Yeah, so sooner or later you're gonna get what you want. Yeah. And the thing is here in closing, I just want to say, I just earlier came across a one of them Hitler documentaries, and when I think about it, the same, we would be amazed if we knew how many police are killing black people for one reason or another in this country. They're not going to tell you, just like Hitler didn't tell you what he was doing, but we would be amazed. And in preference, let me just say this. I was in New Had I lived in New York, and I heard the statistics one day. They say since the time of keeping records, there had never been a case of a black cop shooting a white man, a black cop, New York cop shooting a white man. And they say since they've been keeping records and black people have been on the force, and they had 3 incidents. This was around that Amadou Diallo when they shot the cat 40 times in the hall. They had 3 incidents on record of a black cop, shooting a white man. And I'll just give you one because they were all in this order. It was a subway cop. He riding the subway, as they do in New York, and some crazed white guy jumps up, grabs a cop's gun. They're tussling on the moving subway. The gun goes off, bullet goes down the train, ricochets, hit a white man in the leg. The 3 things are like that. Anyway, I was telling these police that one day, because I live in a building where police used to come in and hang out on break for a minute and, watch TV, eat lunch. Make a long story short, I was telling this black cop that about the statistics in New York. He said, I can dig it. And he said, well,
today,
I don't know what it is.
Involved in the
Hello?
Yes, go ahead. Wrap it up, Brother Brian.
So the cop here said, when I told him about the New York statistics, he simply said, yeah, that's something. He said, well, I don't know what it is here, but it's not much further, and it just made me think, I remember when a university, Chicago policeman couldn't arrest a white person.
Yes, sir.
That was something. Anyway.
Yeah, we got you.
We got a hell of a situation.
Exactly.
Thank you.
We got to get out. All right, we got one more, Brother Naba and Brother BJ. Brother Craig, how are you, sir?
Hey, brothers, how y'all this evening?
Good.
Thanks, I caught the conversation from the beginning, and the brother was talking about Renault Robertson. So one day I was up on 51st Street. There was like 5 black officers up there. So I approached them. I said, man, whatever became of the Afro-American Patrolmen's League? So 3 of them kind of like turned away from me, and 2 of them looked at me. Then when they walked away, one of the officers I talked to a lot, he said, man, these ends ain't going to come together on nothing. I was like, wow. Really?
Wow.
He said that, I was like, man, because I was surprised at the answer. One of them that was up there was a woman, black, but she was a sister. She was a sergeant, and she was the first one to turn away. When I asked them about that, and I understand that the Latinos have a union, because I guess there's a union inside the union. And from what I understand, I don't know if it's true or not, but the Latin officers have a union. I don't know if that's true. But I just wanted to say that. And then there used to be this one officer that was up there, Officer Bogart. Now, she was a sister, but she used to always get into it with black men. But that was her daughter that shot that dude down there at the red line that was trying to run up the stairs. That was her daughter. Her daughter was a cop.
So I think eventually she got off.
Okay.
When the guy, they tried to arrest the guy for just crossing the train, that was a white dude, you know. Yeah, but that was her daughter. But she had a real bad attitude, especially with the brothers. But I believe she's retired now, you know. But she used to give brothers a hard time.
Yes, sir.
One time I was sitting in my car, and there was a little snow on there. She made me roll down my window and said, "Make sure you get that snow off your window before you pull off." I'm like, what?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
All right,
That's
Brother Craig.
ridiculous stuff, man.
Thank you very much, man. We appreciate your call. Keep listening.
All right, brother. Y'all have a good evening.
All right.
Thank you, Craig.
Right.
You know, Brother James,
Yes,
the sad reality, in my view, when Renault Robinson and Howard Saffold started, they were just a handful of them, man.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't have nobody in the brass, you know what I mean, that was ranking, that was like on their side. But we have more officers today. We got the police chief. He's black, right? The one that
yes,
the one that the man chose, right? Yeah, superintendent. He's black. But what you had with Renault Robinson and those brothers, man, you had integrity, you had self-love, you had courage, and you had a sense of duty. Yeah. But like Brother Craig just said, he asked a question, and 5 officers walked away. Why? Because today it's about my job. Same thing Brother Ronald talked about. It's about my personal advancement. It's not about standing for my people, which is sad, which is tragic, really, because at the end of the day, when the system starts kicking you around, who you want help from?
But you know what?
You want help from your people. You know?
Brother Naba, because as I think about it, you know, at the time of the Afro Police Patrolmen's League, you also had a lot of other things going on. You had you had movement activities.
That's right,
back then.
You
had movement activities. Right. You coming out of the Panthers. You got the Nation. It was It was movement. The thing is, though, and they saw the need, and so they and the police are no different. Like when we're on our jobs downtown and white, you know, we get in the corners and we huddle as black folks, but we're not gonna say too much. So it's pretty similar to that. But now, I do think the way this country is moving, that we're going to be moving back. We're already back into a movement kind of stature, but it's going to get more and more, and that might show folks, hey, we didn't integrate. We just got played, and now we need to go ahead and do what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Minister Farrakhan has been saying, is get ourselves together and basically separate. But I do believe the heightened racism, the heightened anger of white folks on black folks, it's going to cause us, you know, not a Black Lives Matter movement, but just get the hell up and do something for self movement among black folks that might start seeing some more changes in the organizations that we have. Brother BJ.
I want to add something real quick. I know we're getting ready to switch over to Sister Starla, but it reminds me of something heard the minister say, and he said to know the truth, but then be afraid to speak it means that we are complicit in the murder of our people, and because we're so choked with fear, and that's what the minister wants us to get. If we don't get rid of fear, we'll never be free. Yeah. And when you're a black police officer and you know what's going on behind the scenes, and you know that our people are being slaughtered on the street, you know, I mean, it's not going to end well for you. So you might as well make a sacrifice and tell the truth. And you know, that's why I always say, you know, some of us out here pretending to believe in God. Let's prove that God is real in our life, because He can't show up when you're a coward or a punk, and you want God to come rescue you, and you're a punk. He ain't gonna do it. You got to stand strong and let Him come deliver you.
But BJ,
so I'm saying all the black police officers out there, Come on, brothers.
Yeah, I would
Come
say.
on, man.
How would you respond to this? Because I can imagine, I can hear the officer say, "Yeah, brother, I hear that, man, but that's Ray Ray. I walk up into our own community, and they gonna walk up on me and shoot me in the back of the head." But I hear what you're saying.
Well, you got to be. Yeah. I mean, there's danger. There's danger inherent in the job. Period. Mm-hmm. So if you don't want to be in a dangerous position, that's not the job for you.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's not the job for you. So really, if you want to be more secure among your own people, get a reputation for being somebody that's not abusive.
Right. Like the black patrolman.
Cops. Yeah, ain't nobody shooting cops, killing cops these days. By and large, I mean, you had, unfortunately, the killing of that poor sister that was tragic. Yeah. But my point is, your safety is in your brotherhood of officers like-minded that have love for their people. You know, my aunt, may Allah be pleased with her, was a police officer in Baltimore. She used to back in the day, she used to patrol this strip called Pennsylvania Avenue. So, at a certain point, she would take a little break. She would go in the bar, and she would watch her stories, right? So she did that one day. She came back out on the street. So some people were out there. She basically had to tell them, look, y'all need to move along. One of the people started cussing her. And a brother that was with him slapped him and told him, shut up, man, leave her alone. She don't bother nobody. Right. She don't bother nobody. Man, come on, let's go on about going around the corner and do whatever we're going to do. And I'll give this example. Look at the men of the FOI, the Fruit of Islam, under the leadership of Minister Farrakhan and the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Look at how we are received generally when we come into the community. Now, the FOI is known for being fighters and warriors, but you know what? We're not known for being bullies. We don't carry weapons. We don't carry a badge. But we come with love and a moral force that emanates, and we deal with our people like we love them. We don't come up to our people cussing them out and aggressive. They cuss us out. And you know what we say? Thank you, brother. May Allah bless you to have a good day. We don't get all upset. Now my ego is threatened, because we understand what we're dealing with, and we diffuse situations. We diffuse them. We don't inflame them. Why? We got a superior knowledge. We got a love for self, and really get this week's final call and read page 19, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, a rule we must live by. Accept your own. Yes, sir. And be yourself.
Yes, sir, brother. Now, but we coming up on the top of the hour. I wanted to see if Sister Starla wanted to have a quick comment on this topic before we switch and go to the top of the hour, and Brother BJ takes us into the top. Sister Starla, you got any quick comment you want to make on this topic?
Assalamu alaikum, my brothers. Honor as always to be back on with, as I affectionately dub you, 3-3 the hard way. But I just really wanted to, I think, Brother Naba, you mentioned it earlier, is that we don't see these patterns and conditions changing. So even though you may have, cases where there may be state or even federal charges leveled against rogue police officers, at the end of the day, like you mentioned, is there going to be a conviction? And even if there is a conviction, does the attitude change? And I think we have seen time and time again, we go through this cycle like a hamster in a wheel, that it does not change. Because, what happened with our brother Tyre Nichols? I mean, how many cases have come to pass since that tragedy, whether we're talking about what happened in Ohio to our young sister Takia, or other cases around the country, what is happening to black people at the hands of rogue police officers in this country is not changing. There's nothing on the federal level that was passed. The George Floyd Policing Act went nowhere. So it just remains to be seen. And I think we've seen what the pattern is and what is going to continue.
Yes, ma'am. You have to finish it on the other side. Brother BJ, you want to take us in?
That's right. Thank you so much, Sister Starter. We're going to come back with you because the front page of the Final Call newspaper, we're talking about the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and Mother Khadija's 70th wedding anniversary, which is today. 70 years being married, a beautiful couple, a beautiful example, and we're going to get into that. And if you married with your wife tonight, listen to the next segment, and y'all gonna fall back in love again once you hear about one of the greatest love stories ever told about the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and Mother Khadija. All right, brothers and sisters, we are going to take a break. Come back after the hour. Sister Starla, she is the managing editor of the Final Call newspaper. Don't forget, 773-591-1690. You can join the conversation. And also, you can make a donation to Straight Words on Cash App, $ Straight Words, $ Straight Words on Cash App, 312-480-9775 on Zelle, 312-480-9775 on Zelle, and Straight Words, the number 4, at gmail.com on PayPal. It's WVON 1690, the Talk of Chicago. WVON 1690 AM, the Talk of Chicago. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim for the second hour of Straight Words with Brother Naba Richard Muhammad. And, of course, he is the editor of the Final Call newspaper. This brother is one of the most prolific brothers that you will ever hear on the radio. And I know he don't like me saying stuff like that, but he's accompanied by his partner in crime, Brother James G. Muhammad, former editor of the Final Call newspaper. Then we got a star, Sister Starla, who's the managing editor of the Final Call newspaper. And I tell you, man, we got some of the smartest people in the world on this radio tonight. So we thank Almighty God Allah for allowing this show to take place on WVON. May God bless WVON 1690 forever. We thank the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan for having a wonderful relationship throughout the years on this radio station. And now we have a voice to carry on the legacy of his work as his helpers, his little helpers right here on the WVON. Hey, listen.
A quick correction, brother.
Y'all
brother
got to
BJ. Quick correction. Please. You said brothers, partners in crime. It's what I thought it was partners in righteousness, my brother.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry, brother.
You missed the note, the email. The text.
I didn't get that. Thank you for changing that language. We always got to be correct each other. But y'all,
we just talked about bad cops, brother. We don't want to get out here beating.
Hey, I'll never say that again. Thank you for correcting me on that, brother. I'll never say it again.
Yes, sir.
And call us 773-591-1690, 773-591-1690 right here on the Talk of Chicago. We got to talk about a great topic, y'all.
And
anybody can jump in now.
Yeah, well, you know, I wanted to say, first of all, brothers and sisters, look, thank y'all for tuning in. But we really need your support because at a certain point, honestly, we're going to have to come to a decision about whether or not this programming is sustainable, right? And it is sustainable if you sustain it. So if you want to be an advertiser, if you want to be a partner, and everything we've done, brothers and sisters, we've really done based on donations, you know, and we've had a few setbacks, mainly for some health stuff that I'm dealing with. But I really want you to understand, and I hope you enjoyed what you heard, and you're going to enjoy even more what you're going to hear. But we really need your support. So that's $ Straight Words in Cash App, $ Straight Words, and send your donation and make it regular. You know, and we'll do some things. The other thing is if it's Zelle, 312-480-9775, and PayPal, Straight Words, the number 4 at gmail.com. PayPal, straightwordsport@gmail.com. But we wanted Sister Starla to come on because now we're going to get into a special segment. And don't worry, we're going to have Kapano Muhammad at about 10:30. But the 70th wedding anniversary of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and Mother Khadijah Farrakhan. Right. We certainly wish them the happiest of anniversaries. And Sister Starla, a beautiful cover. Why don't you talk to us about it?
Yes, sir. All praise is due to Allah. Of course, we wanted to recognize and present our beloved minister and his lovely wife, the First Lady of the Nation of Islam, Mother Khadijah Farrakhan, on the momentous occasion of celebrating 7 decades of marriage. And so we have presented them on the cover, their wedding day photo. And we also are talking about love, duty, and commitment. And in this issue, we examine the importance of establishing and cultivating healthy, happy, and long-lasting Black marriages and family life. So we encourage your viewing and listening audience, if they haven't already. This one is hot off the presses, so make sure you get a physical copy of the final call when you see the FOI in a community near you. And we were able to, on page 2 this week, Brother Naba, we have a beautiful array of photos of the minister and Mother Khadijah through the years. And the article, we really, of course, Mother Khadijah and the minister are, they're a pristine example. They're the template when you're talking about, healthy, happy, and long-lasting marriage. But we were able to profile some other couples, some who were married as a shorter amount of time. We interviewed student minister Sultan Muhammad and his wife, Sister Takia, who has been married, I believe, about 5 or 6 years. And then on the opposite end of the spectrum, Brother Marcus Muhammad and Sister Cecilia Muhammad, affectionately known as the Marriage Keepers, who have been married, I believe, 31 years. But just a really upbeat article with regard to how we go about silencing the noise to build strong, God-centered Black marriages and family. And, of course, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has, for years, talked about the importance of marriage and how commitment to strong marriage secures our nation. And he's not just talking about the nation of Islam, but the Black nation in general. And he talks about that there's no success in building a nation without the building of family, and there's no success in building a family without the respect and honor for the institution of marriage. So we really wanted to examine and explore and speak with couples with regard to, how to face some of the challenges that marriages often face, but how to, withstand those storms that all marriages go through. So a nice feature article written by our national correspondent, Sister Charlene Muhammad. How to face some of the challenges that
yes, that's a really good quote in this article. I want to read this for everybody. It said, when it comes to commitment, a lot of people are playing this double dutch game, 1 foot in and 1 foot out. It's really important if you expect to have a healthy, strong, successful relationship, strong marriage, that you have to put both feet in, and that you're 10 toes down in your marriage. Exactly. We ain't going nowhere. Ain't nobody going nowhere.
And it ain't.
You might get mad at me. You might get mad at me, but at the end of the day, you ain't going nowhere.
And it ain't like storms. And it ain't like storms won't come up. It's gonna be rocky sometime, and it's gonna be smooth sailing sometime. And over the long haul, really over the long haul, the storms, I believe, get fewer because you see deeper into the person and into the mist, and you kind of, you got understanding. The longer it goes, the better understanding. The love builds, actually, and you can see that, in the example of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and Mother Khadijah, who is just a beautiful. Mother Khadijah is so beautiful, man, and she's just a lovely person. And I've been blessed to be 42 years, and it's because of the example that we've seen in front of us with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and Mother Khadijah.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
22 in.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
22 years.
All right.
Yes, sir.
All right now. I can't comment on that. I'll let Sister Starla weigh in if she wants to. But one of the things that I thought really about when I saw this cover, Sister Starla, and one of the reasons why I thought it was so beautiful was, one, we have the opportunity to share our joy, to pay our tribute, to celebrate with the minister and Mother Farrakhan, and it's beautiful to be able to do that. But the other thing is that we get such warped views of black male-female relationships, and there's such pessimism that it is beautiful to see longevity. It's and to see longevity tied to purpose. It's really an incredible thing. And Brother James, with your 42, that's incredible. Brother BJ, with your 22? Or was it 22?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Sister Starla, how many you and the wonderful great brother Bernard Muhammad now?
Inshallah, next year we'll finally hit double digits next year, and we'll hit 10 years in February.
Wow.
Go ahead.
Well, sister, y'all are a really beautiful couple. I'm telling you, Brother James. Couple. I remember when they were courting years ago, and they were just sitting at the Starbucks over here on Stony and 71st. But I tell you, and I always take my hat off to Brother Bernard. He's a special man. Because to have your wife in a position of leadership that requires her to work, that requires her to be on call, that requires her to be under stress. But I've always seen him. I've always seen him supporting Sister Starla.
Amen.
And Yusuf, her son. And I just, we often talk about the woman behind the man. But here's a black man that stands now. Don't make no mistake now.
Oh, no doubt.
Stands behind and don't make no mistake now. And stands with his wife as she does a beautiful work in this mission. So what are some of the lessons, since I got 3 veterans on the line, what are some of the lessons our people should take both from your individual experiences and from the minister's 70 years?
Excellent question. I guess I'll go first as having the least amount of years in this journey thus far. But I know, one of the things that I think is crucial is, in the Nation of Islam, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and under the leadership of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan have taught and trained us and exposed us to what we call courtship. And I know for many listeners who, may not be familiar with that, it's basically old school. The minister has talked about, the fact that if a gentleman was interested in a young lady that, back in the day, he would approach her father, or if her father wasn't there, an uncle or maybe an older brother, but a male member of her family. It wasn't just where he just slides up to her and says just any old thing. There was a procedure. There was manners. So I think getting back to some of the things that maybe our parents or our grandparents or great-grandparents did when it came to their relationship. And in the Nation of Islam, of course, when we go out with one another, it is always under the watchful eyes of, a chaperone, another married couple that goes along, when we are going out. But I think creating those circumstances and environments so that we can, under proper circumstances, get to know one another in our social circles, whether it's a mosque, whether it's a church, whether, it's some other sort of organization. So I think for us, that was critical. Brother Naba, Brother BJ, and Brother James, that, we abided by what we were taught in the Nation of Islam. And, of course, we're able to, of course, speak and talk on the phone, but we had an opportunity to go out with, married couples to seek counseling before you get married. That's important as well, because sometimes, like you mentioned earlier, Brother James, those storms are going to come. So it's important, even before you get married, to seek counsel from happily married couples who can give you tips and advice. You need to learn each other's communication style. You need to learn each other's financial language. If both of you are bad with money, that may be something that is a red flag, because you don't want to be in a situation where I'm bad with money, he's bad with money, and then we're going to be broke all the time. So there's so many dynamics that need to be discussed ahead of time. So that's what I would say in terms of, lessons that I've learned.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Yeah. So I learned, from the minister, he taught us, he said, it takes a good woman to make a good man. And the minister always references that there's no way that he could be the man that he had to be for us if he didn't have a good woman by his side, like Mother Khadijah. And you just think about all the sacrifice that she made for the mission to help him. And, you think about your wife, my wife, in my radio career, and how she sacrificed, just traveling with me, getting fired from a job and moving to another city. I mean, I'd be ashamed to tell you how many times I done moved. And she has never complained and said, I'm sick of you, I'm going my own way. She never said that. She never put me down or anything. She's so patient with me. And over the years, I'd be saying to myself, man, you don't appreciate her enough of what she has done for you. So, when we need to listen to our wives and appreciate them more, because, I made so many mistakes by not listening to her. And the minister always say, when you don't listen to your wife, it's like you're seeing out of one eye. You're handicapped.
Yeah.
But if you listen to her, you got two eyes, because she's the other part of you.
Right.
And so when she's talking to you, that's actually you talking to yourself from the female perspective. Okay. And she always has a different perspective than you. So, I just made a lot of mistakes, but I appreciate my wife. And one of the things I close with this, being in the delivery room when she had my son, and she didn't want to take an epidural because she didn't want the drugs or anything to affect my son when she was delivering him. And I just saw the pain that she was under just for that love of just wanting him to come in untouched by whatever the drugs were. And she suffered for that, And I said, wow, man, I'm crazy not to, do all I can for this woman. So as I've gotten older, I appreciate my wife. I love my wife. I never portray my wife. And I thank God for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan for helping us and showing us how to treat our wives and women in general.
Yes, sir, Brother BJ. 773-591-1690 is the number to call if you want to get in on this conversation. Brother Naba, I will close this out with this. First of all, I wanted just to say to you, you mentioned you can't speak on it, the marriage issue. But I will say to this, even though you're not married now, you are an example of a wonderful father. Whenever I think about the responsible fathers, you are the picture that comes into my mind as I have watched you with your children over the years and the things you had to go through when your children were young and raising them, especially your two boys. So I just want to throw that out because you're the type of brother, if we had men that acted like you toward your children, despite whatever's happening, on the marriage end, then, a lot of this craziness we see in the community would be a lot different. That's number one. Number two, Brother DeMonte, our engineer, has only been married 2 years, so he can't say nothing. Yes, but number three, the last thing I want to say is to follow up on what Sister Starla said. When I came into the nation, that was back in the 70s, around 79. Me and my wife and I, we were, we dated prior to me coming into the nation. And when I came into the nation, she came along with me. So just in that alone caused a whole different perspective on our relationship. Coming out of what we say this world into the nation made us rearrange our whole relationship, because what was tolerated in that world, which creates so much mess in that world, we had to rearrange and adapt ourselves to another world that we're trying to build. And it's not that in the nation there are no, marriages that don't work, because there are. And that's what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is trying to help us through. But we came into the nation, and to the point that Sister Starla was saying, it's a courtship process. I had to express my interest in my future wife and say I'm interested in, finding out more about her. Not the way we do in the world, but in the way of more about her mind, her character, her spirit, who she is really. And so, we had to do that. We had to have a chaperone, et cetera, et cetera. That might sound old school, but when you do it the proper way, and I would use examples of in the Islamic world or so, you often hear about the minister say, when you come into the house in the Islamic world, as a man, or men that come into see another man at the house, you don't see their wives, their daughters. And it's not that they're being oppressed, but there's a culture that is in those communities that show respect for the female, and that's what we got to get back to. What I learned from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and Mother Khadijah is basically how to treat a woman. That's right. And my wife, I believe, had learned how to treat her husband. And so those two teachings brought us together, where, I believe if you ask my children, they will tell you they damn sure will tell you they've never seen us fight. That's for sure. Mm-hmm. They might say they never even seen us have a serious argument, though we may have disagreements. And on the other hand, now, if you fight your wife, I don't care if she is your wife, you're going to have some other people to respond that don't look like your wife. So that's on the other side of that. But, to close this, man, it's like the two pieces just were brought together in a way that I believe that God intends couples to come together. And me and my wife, Darlene, have been together for 42 years. And, it's been ups, it's been down. And to your point, Brother Naba, and I think, or maybe Brother BJ, you mentioned about Sister Starla and the role she plays at the final call and the stress and all that. My wife has often told me that she felt like a married single woman for many years, because when you're working with the Honorable Minister Farrakhan, I'm traveling around the world and gone for days, weeks, and months. And she would say later in life that she would tell me there were times she felt like, a married single woman. And sometimes she had thoughts about maybe she need to go back to Ohio, where we're from. But thank Allah, she didn't. And we have some wonderful children to show for it. Praise be to Allah.
Yeah, and grandchildren now, brother. Don't forget them beautiful grandchildren.
Grandchildren, yes, sir.
Well, brothers and sisters, look, you're listening to some real straight words and some important words tonight. So we're going to close this segment. I'm hoping that our next guest is on the line.
Yes.
We're going to bring her right in a minute. Sister Starla, as we let you go, tell the people how to get you and how to follow you and all of that, how to support you and all of that stuff.
All praises due to Allah. Thank you all so very much again. And, of course, we invite everyone to make sure you visit www.finalcall.com and make sure you take out a digital subscription of the Final Call. You can also take out a print subscription. And, again, when you see the Mighty Brothers, the FOI in cities around the country. Make sure you get a copy of the paper, not only for yourself, but for a family member or friend. The Final Call, you can find The Final Call on Instagram, on Twitter, I guess now known as X. We're also on Facebook, Threads, and even on TikTok. So make sure you check us out. I can be reached at Simply Starla23, also on Twitter, Starla Muhammad on Facebook, and also at Simply Starla23 on Instagram. Thank you, brothers, so very much again. My editor-in-chief, Brother Naba, my editor, Brother James G., and my brother B.J. Murphy. Thank you all once again.
Thank you, Sister Starla.
Thank you, Sister Starla.
Thank you. Thank you. So, brothers and sisters, look, we got a special guest coming up now who's near and dear to my heart. And let's bring in Capano if she's here. Bring her into this conversation.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam, Sister.
Alaikum salam. Is this Capano Muhammad?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
That's
So,
my
brothers,
name.
look. This is my beautiful daughter.
Yes, sir.
Years ago, Brother James, she came to WVON with me one night when I was doing the Salim Muwakil show. So it's fitting that she's back tonight. We're going to have a little discussion about, well, sweetheart, why don't you start by telling us a little bit about yourself and then talk a little bit about the Inglewood Jazz Festival, and then we'll get into the conversation about the relationship between the artist and the black community.
Yes, assalamu alaikum, peace, good evening, everyone. My name is Copano Muhammad. On stage, I just go by Copano. I am a multi-instrumentalist or multidisciplinary artist under the moniker of cultural worker, cultural work. I'm born and raised on the south side of Chicago. Voice is my primary instrument, but I also DJ some, play some piano, play some bass and stuff. I recently graduated from Oberlin College and Conservatory, majoring in music, and I just returned back to Chicago this year after being gone for a while, and it's been a really wonderful beginning.
Very good.
And this Thursday, I will be performing at Inglewood Jazz Fest for the first time. This is a Thursday through Saturday event, and I'll be performing at Thursday at 6 p.m. with Ernest Dawkins and his group of young masters, young jazz professionals. And we will be doing Homage to the Man, which is a suite dedicated to Nelson Mandela.
Oh, wait, say that again?
We'll be doing Ernest Dawkins' composition, Homage to the Man, which is a suite dedicated to Nelson Mandela. It's in like the avant-garde kind of jazz tradition, but I would say it's not one genre at all. So it's very, very trans-genre.
Wow.
Now, what day again and what time?
Thursday at 6 p.m. at the Inglewood Jazz Fest. That's going to be at
Hamilton Park. So you can Google, brothers and sisters, Inglewood Jazz Fest. So, as my daughter said, that's right, that's my daughter. Sorry. Actually, I'm not sorry.
Hamilton Park is on 72nd, by the way. Hamilton Park is on 72nd.
In Inglewood.
72nd in Houston in Inglewood.
Oh, okay. So.
And that's at 6 o'clock on Thursday. Inshallah, I'll be there screaming loud.
Yes, sir.
But I have to say this. I watch my daughter. She's a talented person, but I watched her take voice lessons every Saturday for years, hours of voice lessons. I watched her take violin lessons. I watched her play the viola and, things that she taught herself and, so much of the great work of her mom and helping to cultivate her talents. You know what I mean?
Right.
So you always have to pay homage to the woman that develops the child, man. And her mom has done a fabulous job. And Capano has done a fabulous job in developing her own talent, her own philosophy, her own view. And when she did her senior recital at Oberlin, she did dedicate the first song to me. But anyway, we ain't going to talk about that. So, Capano, you mentioned...
What was the song? Or what was it, Brother Naba?
The song was Sunny.
Sunny, okay.
Yeah, she's a trained jazz vocalist as well as neo soul and other stuff that she does. So, Capano, you mentioned being a cultural worker, and one of the things that you and I talked a little bit about was how do you see what is the proper relationship between black artists and the black community? What should that look like?
Well, I think we can take a moment by looking at the role of the artists in the community right now. I find that what is idolized about artists are those who are very removed from their community, idolized for wealth, idolized for materialism, or being able to succeed in a way that really mimics whiteness and replicates whiteness. When I'm thinking about cultural work, I'm thinking about the movement during the 60s. I'm thinking about Pan-Africanism. I'm thinking about unity. You feel me? Because cultural work means that you listen to your community and you're laboring for your community. You're laboring because people are politics, right? I mean, politics, when we talk about politics, we're talking about people, right? And so, having a people-centered politic around your work. And so I think that requires staying in your community. We can think of Winnie Mandela, who's one of the very few South African political activists who stayed in Soweto. She had the opportunity, but she chose not to, because that's how you stay close to your people and you listen to your people. It's very easy to give into temptation, to be tempted by ego, to be tempted by accolades. But there's a society where we wear achievement as a blanket for insecurity, So I find that being a cultural worker, when you decenter yourself in the process, you are also still choosing yourself in the process when you were choosing the people that poured into you, that created you. So when I think about the role of the black artist, I think it's to be true to oneself enough to know that what is out there for me and chasing, playing this rat race isn't what's actually going to reward my soul. But I mean, to each their own.
Yeah.
I got a question for
Sweetheart.
I got a question for.
Give me hold on 1 second, Brother BJ. Capano, and not say it a little more with your words and slow down just a little so we can make sure we hear you, okay? Go ahead, Brother BJ.
Yes, sir. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Capano. How you doing?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
I'm doing well. Hey, I want to say this. I've noticed that your whole approach is you like old school, right? And you're like an old soul, and you like nostalgic, classic songs that I hear you singing when I was staying with you all. And what is your take on? I see a lot of younger people gravitating to more of the classic era of music as opposed to some of the newer stuff. Do you have a preference?
I think there's a place and time for everything, But if I'm by myself or spending time with myself, I will alternate between the two. But I'm still very intentional about what type of music I listen to, no matter the era. I think it's so important, though, in the concept of Sankofa, we look at the shoulders that we stand on, we look behind us in order to move forward, to have a specific type of reverence for the foundational music, being blues, soul, jazz, So it definitely got a special place in my heart. But, sometimes they put on them Jersey club bangers and it goes up, but that's a place in time.
You have a wonderful voice. You got a beautiful voice. I've heard you sing many times, and you're very, very talented, like your father said. I'm really proud of you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. That means a lot.
It seems like you just went to Oberlin. I'm saying you done graduated. I'm like, damn, where did the time go? I wondered, your idols or the people you either pattern yourself up to, one or two of those, and why do you choose those as idols?
Okay. I'm going to have to choose 3 because that's my number. And I'm bad at following directions sometimes.
Okay, 3
but I'm gonna start with
okay.
The most iconic for me is Jill Scott.
Jill, okay.
Jill Scott. Her phrasing, her ability to storytell, and also, she really is the focal point of the music, even though there's so much arranging behind her, her voice, specifically how she coordinates lyricism with melody and the tone of her voice. Immaculate, unbeatable. She could sing over the same chords for like 10 minutes, and you still there with her following the story. You know, that's amazing.
Wow.
Another musician that I really idolize a lot is actually a Chicago musician named Kenya. Really incredible. Yeah, Kenya. That's Akenya. I first heard of Kenya when I think it was before I was 16. It's a song called Absent-Mindedness that's on SoundCloud. And I was like, that's my sound, because Kenya's also a vocalist, a pianist, you know, composer, songwriter, arranger. Having that type of range is impressive, and it shows in your work. You know, it shows in your voice when you know all of those instruments. But Kenya's also has an amazing sense of time, an amazing range, and does things with a voice that moves beyond just the body, the limitations of the body. So I really admire that. The songwriter, all the people I'm going to name are songwriters, by the way. Kenya. And then lastly, I always have to shout out my South African ancestry. There's a current singer named Zoe Modiga who is a jazz singer, but she also, she's just an amazing vocalist. You know, her sophomore album she released, and it was, I believe it's an isiZulu, I think. I hope I don't get slandered for this, but I think it's an isiZulu. And she just, I know it's in Nguni language, but she just, really, it's just as beautiful as her freshman album, which was in English. It just gives me chills. I actually don't even have words for her, because she's just incredible. She's also a songwriter and guitarist.
What was her name again?
Zoe Modiga. That's Zoe, then Modiga.
Okay. One last question from me. You mentioned Jill Scott, and I thought you were going to mention some other old school based on what Brother
Okay,
DJ
so
was saying.
see, the thing is, you only gave me three. So here's my old school.
No, but that's okay. I was going to ask you.
No, okay, but the last one, I will say Dionne Warwick. Okay.
Okay.
Dionne Warwick.
Okay.
That's Dionne Warwick is the one. All right.
Okay.
Wow. Okay. Wow.
I was wondering your favorite Jill Scott tune, because I like one of her songs that I hardly ever hear played much, but it was called "Blessed," about her son. I really, really liked that one, but I was wondering which one your favorite Jill Scott tune?
My favorite Jill Scott song is "Prepare."
Prepare?
Because prepared.
Oh, prepared.
Because it's basically a prayer in a song. Okay. I find that a lot of Jill Scott's music, when she's writing for herself, they come off as prayers to me. And this song about being prepared is that you got to be prepared. You know, you got to stay ready so you don't have to get ready. And that's really been a mantra for me in terms of my ethic and my philosophy. I'll say my philosophy around saying.
Okay. Well, there you hear it, ladies and gentlemen. The next star on the rise, Sister Kapano Muhammad. She's going to go by the name of Kapano. You'll hear that name widely talked about really very soon. Brother Naba?
That's right. Don't know what Brother Naba went.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Oh.
Well,
I'm still here. Go ahead, BJ.
Okay. Yep. I got another question for you. What are your thoughts about world music, Kapano? Because it seems like you are like a combination of, you got some of that international artistry in you, right? But you can relate to people around the world, and you're just not limited to one genre of music. Am I right?
Yeah. I would say, yeah. I mean, definitely to some degree. I mean, I'm still familiar. I mean, I definitely, I was raised in a South African household. I really say, culturally, Mafiki Zolo's, album, I really grew up listening to. And, I do spend a lot of time listening to South African music specifically. That's what I would say. I wouldn't say world music, but I would say South Africa very, very much so. But I definitely listen to a lot of different music. But I think because the music industry is so profit-centered that it turns culture in on itself to receive money for it, and then create these very watered-down versions. Yeah. And so I'm very sensitive about, when thinking about world music, how I approach a culture, the the role that I have in that culture, you know, even like being South African, I'm still like South African American. So that's still a different point of view to be coming to South African music versus if I was born and raised in South Africa. So, you know, I'm always thinking about my positionality, and that doesn't mean I can't participate. Like my friend and I, we go to this one taqueria up around North Avenue, and we be singing like ballads in Spanish. Like, you know, I don't even really speak Spanish. I took it in high school a little bit, but I be trying, you know. I come prepared with a song. The only song I know, honestly. Sabor a mí, that's the one you would hear me sing at Spanish karaoke night. That's the one. But, you know, like, I still like to learn from a lot of different cultures. But whether or not I really choose to use the sound, I think is a different thing, because I've seen a lot of people profit from cultures that they have no relationship to. And I'm honestly pretty proud of my culture, so I don't feel the need to really do too much, you know. But, of course, I'm always subconsciously absorbing elements that then come out because I'm an improvisational. Like, improvisation is pretty much my foundation for singing. So because I'm an improvisational singer, whatever I've absorbed is what's going to come out.
So
would you
go ahead, BJ?
I was going to say, real quick. I was going to say, do you want to continue your journey in music as an independent artist, or do you have any aspirations for being commercialized?
I'm not good with institutions, you know, commercialization. You know, I mean, having like a $70,000 music video shoot sounds cool until it's not at all what you wanted. Like for me personally. So I think I'm cool with these kind of artists. I do feel very, like, supported by my community, you know. Like, I think that's why cultural work is so important, right? It's like, if I'm out here asking my community for help, but I ain't never done anything for the community, I never shown up for the community don't even know who I am. Who am I to be going to the community to ask for help? I think as a person, you know, you deserve that support, period, you know, especially. But, like, we have to understand that life, energy is recycled. Energy moves in cycles. And so, you know, we have to think about what we are giving the community before we're asking community for stuff. I'm very proud of how I've shown up in my community. So I feel like being an independent artist is the right move for me.
Right.
I'm also not super extravagant. Like I'm pretty, you know, I'm chilling. You know, I'm not super extravagant, but would I be interested in a production deal? Absolutely. You know, release one album with like a label or something like that. I don't know if I would sign to a label, but I would do something that was like very, you know, situational type of conditional, short-term type of thing. I don't see there's anything wrong with that, because as my dad said, never mistake a change in plan for a change in purpose.
That was wisdom from your dad. That was deep. Yeah. So, Capano, you know, the style of music that you do and the style of art that you do, it's not like the stadium feeling kind of attractive. That was going to attract like that, right? You're more like the jazz genre is not as popular as like the hip hop, etc. But hip hop found a way to make their thing by doing their own, like, you know, the brothers that used to do the CDs out there, Trunk and all that. Do you do anything like that self-production wise, or making some kind of the CD or something of your music that you market to try to get your name out there, or have you thought about that kind of thing?
No, I don't think that's really what... I mean, I do a lot of self-production, definitely, because I've been recording myself since I was, like, 16. Just like I said, I'm a very grassroots type of person. I also think that, like, I also don't... I mean, yes, I mean, I did jazz training, but, like, white people are who named jazz. Black people didn't name jazz, you know? Okay. It's free music. You know, it's freedom music. That's why I say I come from an improvisational background, because I grew up in Chicago, where there is no difference between jazz, gospel, blues, R&B, unless you go into a straight ahead jam session, which, you know, that's a very specific thing. But if you go into a Chicago jam session, you can't just be swinging 24/7. That doesn't even make sense. You know, you have to have the flexibility. You got to have the range. So for me, like, my music, like I said, I'm very influenced by what I'm around all the time. So I would never say I'm just a jazz musician, because I think there are some people who would come to my shows and be disappointed. I think at the same time, there are people who love jazz, who love R&B, who just love blackness, that will come to me and be like, my goodness, I'm so happy to be here. And it's about quality over quantity, you know? I don't think I'm necessarily looking for believe in profit from my musical practice, because when I think about like the African traditional like performance practices, the artists didn't perform for money. The artists supported by their needs were met by the community, and then therefore they did their part as a diviner, as somebody who translated, as somebody who went to the other realm and came back with messages. That's what I'm aspiring for. I'm not looking for profit. I find profit to be a bit of a waste. We egregiously waste every day. Money, food, a lot of things. When if I'm just looking for money is the middleman. If I'm looking for if you can get me to where I want to, if you can get me to the thing that I need or a place I want to be, then we don't need to even talk about money.
Right.
But we have to have ends. That's why the artists have to be in the community. So I don't think I'm necessarily looking to hard press CDs and in that way, because I also believe that music should be free. That's also a belief that I have. Is that music should be free. And the way it currently is, it already is basically free. The people who are collecting it are just people who don't even make music. These billion-dollar companies, big CEOs, the music. I'm paying $5 a month to listen to a bunch of music, and barely any of that is going to the artist. We might as well just make it free.
True.
That's right. Well, it's very important that you know who you are, and it sounds like you know exactly how you want your music to be consumed. And as long as you're satisfied, as long as you're making art that satisfies your soul, the money will come. Because listen, the people that you're looking for are looking for you. They're looking for your music because you have something to offer the world, and you're making music for people who are looking for your style. Music is so healing, and I always liken music to the A-tone. You ever heard a song that just revives your spirit, and you make music, you make art like that, and it'll come back to you in ways that you could have never thought of. But it'll only come when you do that which is in your heart, the passion. People will feel it. You know what I'm saying? Because music is, just like these microphones. These microphones this is electricity, and all the human beings in this world are electrical human beings, and when your vibration touches them, that's why we like certain artists, because we catch the spirit that they're giving, And I think that's important that you keep that at the forefront of your mind, that it's from my heart to your heart when you make music.
I say. Thank you so much.
And
thank you.
Capano mentioned that music should be free. I just want to throw a little note in that straight words is not free. Cash app. Cash app. Straight words. Cash app. $, straight words.
Community support.
Zelle 312-480-9775. PayPal. Straight words, the number 4 @gmail.com. Just want to throw that out there.
That's right. This is revolutionary radio supported by the people. That's what we're dealing with over here.
Man.
But no, I mean, I think so. Capano, if people want to follow you, if they want to kind of stay in touch with you again, repeat the Inglewood Jazz Festival time and place one more time. Because we got about, we got about 6 minutes, I guess, as we wrap up this segment, and we'll get into the next one. But Inglewood Jazz Festival, what day, what time, what place?
Yes, so for Inglewood Jazz Festival, it's going to be this Thursday, September 14th at 6 p.m. We're going to be at Hamilton Park, which is in Inglewood on around 72nd and Halsted, just a little bit east of Halsted.
Is it an outdoor event or indoor? And is it a cost? Is there a cost?
I'm pretty sure it's free. Because I think it's free. I'm pretty sure it's free. I haven't seen no ticket thing. I've been on the website. I ain't seen no ticket thing because it's supposed to be like a free thing. I'm pretty sure it's free. And if it's outside or inside, that's such a good question, right? I wish I could tell
Yeah.
you.
Well, I went last year, and I think it's in the same place.
Okay.
It's outside. It's in the park.
Okay.
And they say rain to shine. So I guess if it's raining, you might as well bring your umbrella and your rain thing.
Poncho.
But I
Poncho.
your poncho. But yeah, and if people want to follow you, if they want to kind of keep track of you and support you, how do they do that? Where should they go?
Yes, folks can find me on Facebook, just at Copano. I'm not really a big social media person like that. I'm actually changing my relationship to social media too.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm looking to reactivate my Facebook. I'll be posting the details there.
Very good, very good. And I gotta say, I'm really, this is my oldest daughter, and it's beautiful to see her come into herself.
Yeah.
And to enjoy being herself. Brother BJ, I think you got her mixed up with her little sister, Kamo. I think that's who you heard. I don't know if you met Capano at the house.
No,
Remember at the
I heard her sing.
At the banquet.
You did?
Yeah, I heard her sing before.
Oh, at the banquet.
I heard her sing.
Right at the
I heard her.
at the foodie spot. Yeah. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I guess one of my other questions is, what do you think we need to do to inspire more artists to take this cultural route? And what do we need to do to support artists so that they can take this cultural route and be who they are and contribute to our upliftment and advancement as a people?
Yeah, we really need to, there's a lot of things we're doing. It really starts with children, really giving children access to music into a communal setting. Music is a communal thing. We make it together. It's meant to happen together. That vibration, the electricity we're talking about through microphones, we feel those vibrations in our hearts. We all come together and do something. It's a very powerful thing. And I know the nation knows that because I've seen that. Really going out to a show, paying for the show. Going to the show, paying for the show, and staying for the full show. Sometimes don't just stay for the person that you came for, because sometimes you leave before that next person, and that next person is going to move you in a way you did not expect. So I would say when you go out to a show, actually look up the people who are going to be on the bill and show a little bit of interest. Be curious. Let your curiosity lead you in musical spheres. Be a participatory listener. Someone is really moving you. I would say, give your voice that situation. We love like a yes, absolutely, woo. Something engaging like that.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to perform in the Eurosphere where like the audience is silent. You got to be I want to know that you're there with me. Clap. Don't be afraid to show that your spirit is moved. Be unafraid, and then we will reflect that with you.
Yes.
I would also say. So yeah, put your, like I said, I think music should be free. I think I definitely have this mentality, but just because I may not believe in money like others doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And so it means a lot, if you pay for a show, then I'm able to pay all of my band members. A lot of artists end up paying out their pocket. I would definitely say start with, and if you have the opportunity to, participate in, funding the arts in schools, participating in your school district, if that's something that they're voting on, participating in local elections, if that's something that's being voted on, attending public arts events, really showing up, because there's no power like people power.
Yes. Sweetheart, thank you. We're coming to the top of the hour, so that's Capano. You can get her at Inglewood Jazz Festival, and that's inglewoodjazzfest.org. She's my beautiful daughter and a beautiful human being. Amen. We're at the top of the hour. Thank you, sweetheart. We'll have to bring you back again another day.
Capano.
Thank you, Capano.
Thank you.
Thank you, Capano.
Roll on. All right. WVON, AM 1690. Go ahead, BJ.
All right, so Talking Chicago coming up, brother.
And the voice of the nation is 1690 WVON, Berwyn, Chicago.
Back. The third hour of Straight Words
right here on WVON 1690, the talk of Chicago. Of course, Brother Richard Nabab Muhammad, the Final Call editor, is here. Former editor James G. Muhammad. I'm BJ Murphy. Thank you for tuning in. And of course, Brother Richard said something in a way that is really, it just hits you right in the face when you talk about, us staying on the air on WVON.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes,
that was serious, brother. It was a wake-up call for me when you said it like that, because if we don't get the funding in to continue to, pay our bill to be on WVON, we appreciate the staff at WVON. We love Deontay. We love to see you every Tuesday night, Deontay. We don't never want to stop seeing you, but if we don't get this money in, we're going to have to see you on the internet.
Go ahead, Will. I'm sorry.
Well, now go ahead. What you going to say?
I just, again, and I'm, eventually we're going to have to come to a decision. And me, you, and Brother James will have to sit down and have a conversation about that as well. And I think there are things we can do. I mean, every week, brothers and sisters, when we're on the air, it really is something special. And I would hate to lose it. We just need the support to make it happen. And again, we're really just beginning. We really are. Right. There's so much more that we want to do. You got a Hall of Fame broadcaster with BJ Murphy. You got James G. Muhammad, past Final Call editor-in-chief, who remains a contributing editor to the paper to this day. So a lot of what you see in the paper and the beautiful work that you see done is because of work that Brother James is doing right now. I want to make that clear. And he and his wife have been big supporters of the show. It was my honor and pleasure to ask him if he would come with me on this journey. And I got to say this, brothers and sisters, because this man, Brother BJ, is a brother to me. And this man, James G. Muhammad, man, this is my brother.
Yes, sir.
And I never knew that just by trying to be a brother, that I would have such an awesome brother on my side, and his lovely wife, Sister Darlene, and the family, and the grandchildren. So it's all about love here, brothers and sisters, and with love and unity, we can do whatever we choose to do, and we think this is the time that we should be in love with one another, and we should be moving forward. So with that, we got Brother Brian Muhammad, staff writer from the Final Call, on the line.
Yes, sir.
Is he on?
Alaikum.
Hey, walaikum salam. Brother Brian, how you doing, man?
Man, rolling with it. Staying in the fight, my brother.
Well, brother, we're very glad to have you on. Today is a special day because we have you, but it is also a special day, and the sister Crystal reminded me of this. But on September 12th, 1977, we lost, or he was killed, South African revolutionary, Black consciousness movement leader, Stephen Biko. So, brothers and sisters, we really have to learn. Excuse me. We really have to learn, right, that the anti-apartheid movement in South Africa, Nelson Mandela is a great figure, but he was in prison for 27 years. Right. That's right. So there were others that were on the ground working. The Pan-Africanist Congress of Azania and others. But this man, Stephen Biko, is really such a hero to me. So if you get a chance, take a minute and learn about him, because he was the Black consciousness movement leader. Right. And he was influenced by the Black Power movement in America. So this shows, brothers and sisters, our connections, right? Excuse me. And how
take your time.
And how, regardless to land, language, or culture, we really remain one people. So today we salute our great ancestor, revolutionary hero, Stephen Biko, and my youngest son. His family name is Biko, because actually I went to this movie, brothers, and it was about the South African freedom struggle. And I was and my wife at the time was pregnant. I was so angry because there was such a limited portrayal of the heroes of the liberation struggle. Excuse me. That I named my son while he was in the womb, Biko. So that he would be remembered. And not just named him that, but taught him something about who this man was and is. And I debt to him. So, Brother Brian, since we got you and we're talking about the South African freedom struggle, what's going on in Africa that we need to know about? Why don't we start there? I hear that we still catching hell, according to a new report. This is all over the world, right? Talk about that.
Yeah, this is all over the world. But before we go there, Brother Nava, let me say this. As you open up with the sacrifice of a Stephen Biko and the marginalization of how people like that are treated into the annals of history. And so when we hear this appeal to support a program like this, that places the kind of relevance from a historical context of why this has to be supported. Because there are other voices out there, other agendas out there, who sees, as we see this this program and this type of programming important, there are other agendas who feel just as strong that our people should not be exposed to the kind of truth and the kind of content that this show provides on a weekly basis. So I'm going to make sure that I use that Cash App or whichever way the funds can get to you to get to this show. And I'm asking everybody who's listening to not just lend your ear, but let us unite so that the truth can be told unhindered and some agenda don't marginalize this truth like it did Stephen Biko and many voices who struggled and died like him. So I just wanted to say that before we get into the conversation.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Brother Brian. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And let me go ahead and give out the instructions from Brother Brian real quick. $ straight words on Cash App. $ straight words on Cash App. On Zelle, 312-480-9775. That's 312-480-9775 on Zelle. And on PayPal, straight words, the number 4 at gmail.com. Go ahead, Brother Brian.
Got it. Okay, got it. So, yeah, brother. So this report, in this week's Final Call newspaper, we covered a report that the United Nations Human Rights Office put out that said that people of African descent continue to face enormous challenges in terms of having meaningful participation in public affairs. And they said throughout the world. I mean, this is not a problem just in one or two places, but it's a problem throughout. And a lot of this is rooted in the legacy of colonialism and in the legacy of slavery. in terms of how our people are being treated. And one of the things that the report said that the greatest demands, one of the greatest demands among our people is when a lot of these countries do so-called, deal with the problem or discuss the problem, they really don't invite the very victims of the problem to the table. So they still want to, when they do want to address it, they want to address it from their standpoint. And, and much of it has to do with, how do we address this and not be held tangibly accountable, whether it's through reparatory justice and in terms of, whatever that may mean in any given place. But they want to control the narrative. They want to control how it's being handled. And at the end of the day, it's not really being handled. So black people are catching hell all over the planet still.
So, Brother Brian, this report, this was a report from the United Nations?
Correct. Yes, sir. The High Commissioner for Human Rights put out this report, and it's a report that is, even though it was released, it's actually going to be presented to the Human Rights Council during the upcoming General Assembly at the UN this year, which goes through mid-September and some dates into early October, which is when this report is supposed to be actually presented.
So, in addition to the report, are there any? Because we see these things, and I think the research is important to continually prove what's happening and what's being done to us. But excuse me. The other thing is, are there any recommendations for change or what needs to be done to stop this from continually happening and to stop the marginalization of us as a people?
Well, I mean, it's the same old. Yeah. I mean, in the sense of, making sure that there are policies in place that speaks to areas of violations, such as in law enforcement, because that seems to be a reoccurring problem in the United States. Is how law enforcement treats black people. Of course, we see that going on in France and a few other places. So they're trying to get at least the Human Rights Council head, so to speak. He's trying to get these nations to take more of a tangible look and, again, to include the voices of people, seriously include the voices of the very people that these things affect. And that's why I say that it's the same old, because if we think about it, the fact that some of these nations are falling so woefully short of addressing a lingering problem of their own racial discrimination and xenophobia issues, they're still doing this while age-old mechanisms that we know about has been in place. Things like, the International Convention on the Elimination of all forms of racial discrimination, the Durban Declaration and Program of Action, the International Decade for People of African Descent. All of these things have measures and recommendations in them, but again, a lot of the nations either pay lip service or they do nothing at all.
So who are some of these nations that you're talking about? Who are some of these nations? Who are we talking about?
Well, we would say the United States. We would say France. You know, we will say Britain. You know, all of these, particularly the European nations that, you know, because they've been having, these are the nations that have been having problems where people have been raising up to get these issues addressed. But but particularly the United States and France, because these two in particular, you know, as we know, they damn near have to be forced to even acknowledge the level of problems. You know, I mean, you look at the United States and its posture of, you know, of American exceptionalism, for example, where no, this is not us. This is other people. And it took the energy around the George Floyd situation in particular, because that's when they saw a marked difference in how nations responded because of the various protests, the various reactions in countries around the world as a result of seeing what happened to George Floyd, right? And so they use that kind of as a yardstick of time of these countries who normally would just outright act as though nothing's happening here, where they had to at least, you know, acknowledge there's a problem.
Yeah, man, it's brother. I mean, the problem has been ongoing for hundreds of years. I mean, it's like you didn't have COINTELPRO. You didn't have, you know, this war on drugs legislation and the brothers in New York, Central Park 4. I mean, all of these, it's like you said, brother, it's the same old, same old. It's it's about power. It's about who's going to benefit from all the resources that lie in the lands of lands where black people are, people of so-called people of color, and how do we continue to extract that while making those folks think that we're actually concerned about their well-being, even though year after year, decade after decade, century after century, we have shown you around the world that we don't care about you. So here's another report, and we'll wait for the next one in 2024, and then we'll wait for the Conference Against Racism in 2030, and then in the year 3000, we might get a full declaration, you know. So it's like put the dog on a leash, hold the carrot out in front, and he'll keep chasing that carrot until the dog just say to hell with it and turn around and bite the man who has the leash in his hand. And that takes leadership. That takes leadership. And the kind of leadership I'm talking about is the kind of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, who is, you know, it don't matter. The truth is the truth. And we don't have leadership because you do need leadership. People say you don't need we need leadership to marshal the direction, the forces, so that we can be all marching in the same direction. And until that happens, they'll continue to rape Africa and build the cities of Europe and America. They'll continue to rape the black communities and keep the black communities poor while putting up an illusion that, yeah, we care about you, we're addressing these issues of systemic racism. But when will we as a people universally just get tired and say, Muhammad, you were right. Let's put that program up. I mean, let's actually put the program on the table and start looking at it and put those policies into place and see if it changes us. Because the 70th March on Washington is going to be the same as the 80th, and it's the same as the 90th.
Yeah.
So, I mean, damn, bro, man.
But Brother James, this is why, and I appreciate you all having me on the show last week as well. And yes, when we deal with geopolitics and we deal with all of these things going on around the world, the unique thing, and this is not to toot our own horn, but it is to toot our own horn, right? The unique thing about the final call, for example, when we deal with these issues, we are bold enough to also speak into the time as it's represented to us by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And we cannot get around that. See, because what you just raised to the people is, at what point do you recognize that all of these mechanisms and all of these bodies that you're looking to solve your issue? Look, the United States has been impotent, literally impotent to solve anything. You see? And now, it sounds good. We're going to take our struggle to the international arena. And if you're thinking that the United Nations and bodies like that is your arena, you're deluding yourself. So, we raised the question, in talking about this report, because the report, when you read it, for all intents and purposes, is telling the truth. But if you don't have the real teeth to address that truth, then it's just a good conversation. It's a good read. But we asked the question in this week's coverage of this report, the fact that the report is calling for change, but we also raised the point that it's presented at a time, again, of universal change and an outcry for justice and fair dealing. See, the people the people have a certain energy. You look at what's going on in Niger. You look at what's going on in Burkina Faso, in Mali, in particular among the people in their responses to these coups, right? See, there's something else going on in the spirit of the people. Right. Now, there are those out there who are used to dealing in geopolitics and what's going on in the world, but maybe they don't want to deal with all of this quote unquote God talk. But I believe that this very spirit of God is moving in the people. Whether the people are consciously aware of it, their nature is responding now. So the minister says to us, the Honorable Minister Farrakhan says that this is a time of an intensifying universal cry for justice. See, so the people are crying out. And the minister, in his book, A Torchlight for America, and this line of questioning that he asked also applies to the nations of the earth. When he says that, that there's gross dissatisfaction with leadership and government, and dissatisfaction must bring about a change, right? But the question becomes, who will bring about the change? Who will offer solutions to the problems faced by the people, and what kind of change will there be? See? Yeah, exactly. And then he raises a question, how, in terms of how would they deal with a solution, a divine solution, a torchlight, if it is not carried by someone of their own class, sex, faith, color, party, or nationality, from a source that you least expect.
Yeah.
So we're at a time where all of this revolution that's going on, it demands a revolutionary outlook in terms of how we see the changes that's going on. So you're right. Reports like this came and gone. They want to say, well, it was the George Floyd situation that sparked the nations of the earth who normally would go into Dummiesville and be in denial that these things are happening, but it forced them. But like you said, this stuff didn't just start with George Floyd, and this stuff has been going on, and they said it in their own report that the systemic nature of it stems from colonialism, stems from slavery, and this whole outlook of how people have this white supremacist view of people who are not white, of black people in particular.
Right.
So, we have to,
I would
challenge our people to see it in a new and different way, or at least in a different way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I agree in terms of the movement of the people. It makes me think about, and you mentioned about something about religion, etc. But when you do read Scripture, it makes me think of this. If I was living in Egypt during the story, the parable or the story about the Pharaoh and Moses, the parable that is told in the book. And so how did that really happen? Did Pharaoh say, okay, y'all go, and then all of a sudden it was like the Million Man March, and then everybody got in the street and they said, okay, Pharaoh's letting us go, y'all, let's go. They walked toward Lake Michigan, and then the prophet holds up the rod, and Lake Michigan opens up, and so let's get up out of here. We're going to walk on over to Michigan. And then when they change their mind, they're going to try to follow us, and then the water gone. No, see, that's vanity. That's how they want you to look at it. But in the real world, in my opinion, it's like when you hear that clarion voice that the scripture talks about that would be raised among the people who fit this. It won't happen in that fantastical way that was mentioned, but it will happen in that the people will move in a different direction. Like you said, over in Africa, where you have the people moving, and God willing, this movement of people will take it away from the colonial rule and start moving away toward self-reliance, taking control of their own, and more toward their natural ways of living. And so there's that movement. I do agree. That's happening. And as we more and more, I do believe, those prophetic voices will be heard. The voice of the minister already is around the world. And once everybody starts walking to the same rhythm, and we get leadership that's not afraid to speak into that rhythm, then I do believe you'll see, that's where you'll see the most change. And then you'll see this will cease, but it won't be a bloodless. It will involve blood, for sure.
No,
they ain't giving up without a fight.
No, no, not at all. And they, and again, just like I said about this program and the agenda to keep this type of truth that you all give every week out front and going, there is agendas who are just as strong to oppose it. And, and they will marshal their forces, just like you brought up the scriptures, just like, Pharaoh did, summoning, the Negro leadership of that day. And Negroes are used to making deals like, well, what's in it for me? Well, I'll make you nearer to me.
Mm-hmm.
Give you something. You got something coming. Just Just handle that. You know what I'm saying? Right. And so I think on the international, on the global level, this is what the nations of the world, particularly the African nations and the Caribbean, we're at a juncture in time where we have to either choose to go free or choose to continue to just try to find a comfortable place, which means only a comfortable place for a few, within the framework of things that we've been used to having, you know. So the African Union was able to now become a permanent member of the G20, you know, and which we're trying to explore to see meaning what. Because if you don't have a unified position, you know, and even the positions that you normally take is still tied to a safe space as it relates to your, you know, those who have been your historical colonial masters and others, you know, are you in a real position to speak with one voice in a body where you have to speak with one voice? Otherwise, it would just be another arena for them to pick you off against each other, because every African nation may not have the same need. So I'm just saying that the importance of having a different outlook, and I believe that new outlook, and it's not new, but you know what I mean, that this different outlook has to come from the guidance that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has been given.
That's right.
Yeah, you know, Brother Brian, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad talked about black universal rights. And he talked about this rising consciousness and this rising movement and this rising call for justice and freedom and equality. And I think it's important that in particular in this day, where there's so many that want to kind of fracture us, I think that it's important to showcase what is happening on the international landscape, because many of our people have no idea. Right. But all of these things cumulatively bear witness to the ultimate divine truths. Because now you can see, and I think it becomes our role to both report, interpret, and analyze what these things mean. What do we see happening in Africa with these quote-unquote different coups, in particular around the French-speaking African nations, where you have the West, America, even the United Nations, France, calling these people coup leaders. But it seems as though the masses of the people in these countries are glad to see the change in power and the removal from power of people who have either been in power for a long time or they've been in power, but the people are dissatisfied with the failure to move the country forward. The people are dissatisfied with being poor, and yet they have these abundance of natural resources, precious metals, all of these different things that the world needs to survive. But yet we are not profiting in Africa, the Caribbean, and where we find our people. What are some of the other things that are happening internationally that we need to be paying attention to?
Well, I think that this move that the United States is making and is marshaling the Western nations, particularly through NATO, even though China and other Asian nations are part of the G20, but even within these groupings, this kind of friction that is escalating against China, it's interesting because what we're seeing is all of it stemming from this change. We talk about a universal change. This shift from a U.S. dominated unipolar arrangement with the rest of the world to now nations forming a multipolar reaction to it. And so now you got interesting alliances forming, with China all up in it, Russia to a lesser degree. You got Iran and its alliance with Venezuela, for example. You got these different groupings now. We reported on the
BRICS,
the move BRICS, and other bodies that have also been talking about, just like BRICS did, in terms of reassessing its relationship to the dollar and global business, right? You're seeing this happening, but you're seeing it where the U.S. is no longer, it's almost like where they used to go in and be able to just strong arm and threaten their way out of a situation. It seemed like these groupings are now saying, regardless of your might, we're going to do what we're going to do and let the chips fall where they may. And so these are the type of things I think that we need to really be paying attention to, because these are realignments. But once again, with all of that, we cannot take our eyes off of the ultimate change that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the minister has been talking about. Because at the end of the day, as the minister told us back in 2005 during the Million Family March, I think it was, that he said all of the Caesars of the world will be sat down. All of them. So all of our brothers in Africa, all of our brothers in the Caribbean, who's tied to the real culprits of the world, if you do not make an independent strike off of them, Allah is no respecter of persons. You're going to lose just like he intends for his open enemies to lose.
That's a good point.
773-591-1690 if you want to get in on the conversation. Please do. 773-591-1690. On the other, go ahead, brother.
No, go ahead, brother.
No, I was just going to bring up some of the things you see happening around the world in terms of the like the earthquake that was just recently in Morocco, and you got just these devastating things occurring that and what it brought to my mind is like we're watching these things, and of course they're happening here, some of them. But like the earthquake, when I saw that, it made me think about how the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, what you see happening on the distant shores will be here at your gate. And I thought about the Turkey earthquake and the one that just happened with Morocco, and how the minister has been reminding us of the messenger's words that Allah will level a city in America. And as we saw in Turkey, there were tens of thousands of folks that died in Morocco just recently, right now. Tens of thousands dead.
Yeah.
And we've not seen that here.
Yeah.
We've not seen that. So when we see that here, that's going to be at the shock of the hour, as the Honorable Minister Farrakhan once talked about what's going to be happening here. And I just wanted to bring that up in terms of the international scene. It's not only the people are waking up, but there's things that's causing folks to wake up.
Right.
And people are really suffering. They're poor already, but Allah is bringing things that's we all get caught up in it, the righteous and the wicked.
Yeah, I call it Allah's body blows.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Until and what happened in Libya. I mean, I've just been kind of looking at it like because what they did, and I don't want to make any claims like they did that because of what they did to a man who was a just man in Brother Muammar Gaddafi. Mm-hmm. But it's interesting to me that, these things is happening on the level that it happened there. And the people, or I would say not the people, but the leaders there, the same ones who conspired and worked and collaborated with, with the NATO, this North Atlantic terrorist organization called NATO, and the rest of, to overthrow and kill him. Now they're like stuck on stupid with this, where this type of thing happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They're just literally stuck on, and they are saying this. We don't know what the hell to do.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And the other thing is, with the destruction of Brother Gaddafi and the central government,
right,
and a leader that essentially had control over the country, you don't have that anymore.
Right.
So you don't even have one central government that's able to mobilize military, able to mobilize social, community, institutions, and even interact with international institutions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because all of that has been destroyed. It's been, over 10 years now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so now it's not only that the flooding, we're talking about the flooding now in Libya, and the loss of life.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not only that the tragedy, and this is tragic, brothers and sisters, we don't relish any of this.
Mm-hmm.
We don't feel good looking at any of this.
Mm-hmm.
It is really tragic to see such a loss of life. And we understand that, when death comes, the Holy Quran says, look, guard yourself against a day when not just the unrighteous will be touched.
Right.
So we don't take any pleasure in the suffering of human beings. But with such erosion of government, leadership, society, such a focus on internal civil war for the last over 10 years, I guess. So there isn't the infrastructure to even respond, let alone prevent, right?
Right.
Or mitigate such an occurrence. Now there's not even the capacity to respond to it as a government would, and as a government should. So as we report on these things, we are trying to, everything that we do, everything that we show, everything that we report in one way or another bears witness to the warnings, the teachings, the message of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and his servant, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And so we try to take these events and reports and put them in a context. And hopefully we're helping to bring information and context so that people can understand the time what's happening, where we are, and then find the place that gives them the solution. You know, so, but it is it's really something, and it's something to see. You know, with us as a people, Africa, Arabs, and fleeing destruction often wrought by our oppressor and former colonizers. But we're not finding relief in the places where we go. So you had the killing of the young brother by the officers in France. You had the riots, which isn't new. In the UK, I don't know what the latest.
And they let the refugees the boats stay out in the sea so long that they just fall apart.
That's right.
Dozens of people are dead.
Oh my God! Just letting people die.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't even conceive of that. It's so horrible. And the other thing is, I don't know what the policy is that they're recommending now. But in the UK, they were talking about sending refugees to Rwanda.
Yeah.
People that came to the UK now to seek some kind of humanitarian relief or whatever, they were literally talking about shipping people out of the UK to Rwanda.
So and Rwanda signed a deal on it too.
Yeah, so this says something to us, I believe, about where these nations are that appear to be so great.
It's like, well, send us your iron ore, your uranium, your bauxite, but don't send us your people.
Don't send us your people. Exactly. That's right. Exactly. So, you know, these are the things, brothers and sisters, that we're hoping that you will pay attention to, and we will keep trying to bring light, life, and power to you. Brother Brian, as we let you know, what can the people do? How can they find you if they want to keep up with your writing? What do they need to do? Where do they need to go?
Well, of course, on the writing, you know, you can always keep up with new.finalcall.com. That's for the writing. And look me up on there, and also on X, as it used to be called, Twitter. You can reach me there at Global Peaks. Then that's spelled. It's not a misspell, I don't think, but it's GLOBALPEEKS. Okay. All right. Okay. And on Facebook at Brian.E.Muhammad. I'm right there. And this is how you can reach me. And, you know, but certainly, you know, please continue to support the Final Call newspaper. You know, we do our best. And of course I'm speaking in front of the editor, so I'm not trying to keep my job, y'all. I'm honest. It's a great newspaper. I want to make that disclosure, you know. I don't know, because they say, well, of course you're gonna say that. You got your bosses sitting on the other end of the line. But seriously, you know, support that and support this program, please, y'all. It's imperative because there's no mystery, you know, to stay on the air like this, and especially to be on a major network like WVON, which goes all over through its website and is very popular throughout the country, and I would ascertain throughout the world, but certainly throughout the country. So keep, you know, support this program, and let's keep on marching forward.
Brother Brian, thank you.
Brother Brian. Thank you, man.
We'll have to bring you back again at some point. But thank you for your work. Thank you for reporting back. You know, brothers and sisters, again, this is the value of independent black media. This is the value of when you have a vision and a commitment to your people and a commitment to bringing light, life, and power to them, and to awaken, enliven, and resurrect them. Thank you, Brother Brian. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you. Wa alaikum salam. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Yes,
well, brothers, we got 2 minutes. Brother DJ, is it you? I think it's you.
Brother, we had a great show tonight. It was a treat having your daughter on. Of course, she's a beautiful spirit. You raised a wonderful offspring, brother. You do a wonderful job, like Brother James was saying, man. When I see those pictures on Facebook of you and children, there's so much pride when y'all together, man. So thank you for being a good father and a good example, Brother Naba. I appreciate it.
Well, praise be to God.
All right, brother. Yes, sir. Brother James, always, man. I'm so glad you're part of the team, brother. We can't do this without you, man. Thank you so much for what you do. Brother Deontay, thank you. Sister Jeanette, our producer,
been married
back
2
in
years,
Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Hey, you're going to be married for 22 years, man, because Deontay's a good brother, man.
Yes, sir.
We thank y'all so much, brothers and sisters. Don't forget, you can donate your best donation at Cash App at Straight Words, $ Straight Words, $ Straight Words on Cash App, on Zelle, 312-480-9775. That's 312-480-9775. If you want to hit us on PayPal, Straight Words, the number 4 at gmail.com. Don't forget, brothers, I want to say this from the Holy Quran. Those who are the doers of good to others, there is no fear for them, nor shall they grieve. Go out in the community and just do good. And you never have to worry about nothing because God got your back. We'll see you next Tuesday, 9 p.m. on WVON 1690 Chicago.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.